this one, it's about our second step, our second video in this series of learning NextJS. We have done so far the first 3 sections of the tutorial in the NextJS site, and then now we're gonna go into part of the tutorial where it shows us how to actually get the data for the site. Because again, one of the main goals of a static site generator is to, based on some data that you have, a database or some files that you have, based on some data that you have somewhere, it could be your computer, it could be in another service, grab that data and use that data to generate the site. That way, you just don't have to write down the data that you need for your pages manually inside each of those JS pages, or manually inside any other inside the HTML pages. Now, for the tutorial, they do say that we're going to be using the file system. But they also have other ways of grabbing the content from somewhere, a database or headless CMS. So for the tutorial, we just use this file system. So we actually might end up writing some files into a file system, but we'll see. Okay, so we're gonna do pre-rendering, so we're gonna start now. And then we're next, pre-rendering. Pre-rendering. Every page is pre-rendered. The HTML is generated in advance. You can check that pre-render is happening by taking the following steps. Disable JavaScript in your browser and try accessing this page. If we tried that in localhost, like I said, telling us that CSS won't be loaded. Okay, so we can try that in CSS. You can try that in the localhost. Okay, they are telling us that typically in a normal React app, in a vanilla React app, you need JavaScript to render the site. And they're saying that, you know, with NextJS, you don't need to. You're using React to build your site, but you don't need JavaScript at runtime in order to be able for your site to run. And I got some graphics here. Which is not a benefit of pre-rendering. Maybe this one? Yeah, interesting. Two forms pre-rendering, static site generation. HTML files are build time. That's the one I like. And they have some graphics here. Again, we build it, HTML generated. The users grab the HTML. The browsers ask the server, and the server grab the HTML. Server-side rendering, the page request goes to a runtime that generates the page. And they're telling us a very important thing. In development mode, which is what we have right now running, every page is pre-rendered on each request. Okay, so static, the full static is only done for production. And that's important because that way we can iterate fast in our development of our site. Okay, per page basis. Importantly, next lets you choose. Oh, that's nice. Which pre-rendering form to use for each page. That's very nice. So we can do static for most pages and server-side for others. Well, that's actually pretty neat. Again, static, good, because you can put in dump servers or CDNs. Not that CDN is a dump server, but it just makes it faster, way faster. Mostly sites that you want the public to access that are read-only. You can still have inside them, again, like we said before, even though your site is built at build time, you can have some JS inside those sites, inside those static generated sites that can then call back an API if you want to push back. So let's say you have a marketing page and your marketing page is built at build time, a static, so it gets served very fast, but it has a form. That form, you know, when the user clicks on the form, clicks submit in the form, you can have some JavaScript inside that page that runs in the browser that then posts that form to an API to do whatever you need to do. So it's not just read only. You can have a back and forth conversation from a business perspective. Okay, more guidelines. I'm gonna go next. Static generation with or without data. Yep, we haven't fetched any external data. So sometimes you need data that is not HTML. That's basically it. External data is data that's not straight HTML that is in your file system. So grab data, then generate. When you use a page component, you can also export an async function called getStaticProps. And that's how you get your data. So we get the external data, and then we return it. This thing gets passed to this at build time. There you go. So we're going to be using external data that's not HTML or a React component, data that lives in a markdown file. So we're going to do a post. And this folder post is outside of the other post folder that we had before. This one is more for the external data, where our markdown is going to live. Two files, pre-rendered and empty. And SSRMD. MD stands for markdown. Okay, that's markdown with some, I think they call it front-end matter. Just metadata about the markdown. Excuse me. And then this one for the other file. There you go. Yeah, YAML front matter. That section right there, that metadata section. It's called front matter. And what we want to do under our new getStaticProps function, parse each markdown file that is in here, and get a title and date, and then list them on the index page, sorted by date. So to do this on pre-render, we need to implement get static props. So here I'm gonna say oh, there we go. We can install this. Okay, we'll install it. Copy, paste. A new folder lib at the top level. And then when I tell it that this library, again, it's a new library that we're gonna be creating to handle the logic for getting that data. Oh, and that npm set finish installing. So I'm gonna run again my development server. So get the data. It's just a function, normal function. Again, it's nothing to do with NextJS. It's just a generic library that is gonna go to a post folder. So I'm gonna collect the file names, and for each file name, a map function is, for every element in a collection, map it to this. So it goes from one type to the other type. In this case, we're taking the file name and then we're building a path. We're getting the file contents with some with the from mother, and then we return it. That's all it's doing. Nothing specific to NextJS. So that's how we call it from index.js. So we're gonna go to index.js, which is over here, right above the home component. There you go. We're referencing the library that we had, and we're just getting that data. Again, it was separated into that library because this part has nothing to do with Next.js. It's just a generic thing that's reading files to get data from Markdown files. So the pattern is, let's say you have a database, then you will create a file like this, a JavaScript file like this to grab that data, from your database or whatnot. One thing I just noticed though, that was a JavaScript file, and I thought we had a TypeScript here. There was a TypeScript option. Well, that's a to-do item. Okay, so we got that. We have that function. So now that property is now available, so we can use it. Okay, so we're gonna copy that because now has the section. Oops. Again, this pattern is a deconstruction JavaScript pattern, where basically whatever variable, whatever parameter that gets passed to home, it gets deconstructed into its properties, and we're telling JavaScript that we're only interested in the property called post data. So in here, now that we have that, we got to add this to below the existing section. Okay, and before layout, after section and before layout. So right here, we're mapping, we're iterating through all the posts that we received, and we're listing them. Now if we go here, if we go back home, we see them here. Pretty cool. The next part of the tutorial is details, fetch external API or query database. So they're telling us, in the library, we implemented get sorted post data, but you can fetch that from other sources, anything you want, anything you can access from TypeScript or JavaScript, then you can do that. And they give you some pattern example for querying a database. So the idea is get static props only runs on the server side. It won't even be included in the JS bundle for the browser. Very important. That function, the code for that function won't be included in the JS bundle that gets delivered to the browser. However, in development, that runs every request, but in production, it just gets built at runtime. And because of that, obviously you cannot access what somebody will have entered as a parameter in the URL in the browser. You don't have access to that because you're building it at build time, not when the request is coming. Okay, so only from pages. And if you do, again, if you have some dynamic data you want to pull from somewhere, then you're just gonna have to do it the normal way. And by normal, when I mean like normal JavaScript. Server side. If you need to fetch data at request time instead of build time, you can try server side rendering. And to do those, you use get server side props. So in this case, the parameter, you will get anything that was entered by the browser, anything from the request. Or client-side rendering, when the payloads fetch external data from the client using, again, like I was saying, regular JavaScript, and populate the remaining parts. So the server delivers the page, the static page, but the page itself, on the client side, on the browser will run the JavaScript to load the extra data. Okay, and the team behind NextJS has created a React hook. Are we still talking about client? Yeah, we're still talking about client rendering. SWR. We highly recommend if you are fetching data on the client side. It handles caching, Revalidation, focus tracking. Interesting. So, a function profile, they call something. Well, that's interesting. Let's take a quick break into that. To do that. For naming. Okay, well, let's do sample API. So for example, let's say we want to do the all employees. All we have to do is call employees. So let's try that. Well, I don't know. It doesn't show how to call it though. What's the actual URL? Let's just do the movie database. Oh, you have to sign up for a key. I want something free though. Something that I don't have to have a free public APIs for developers. Oh, I guess it's this one. No, it's not. It's not free. You have to sign up for it. Um, maybe this one. Sign up for key. No. Oh, that's the dumbest thing. Come on. Let's see. I just want a dumb API. Maybe dogs. Actually, this one. Oh, that's a good one. So we're gonna use this API and we're gonna add it to our, let's see, our page one. Somewhere over here. And then we're gonna copy the code. From here. Import use that. Again, we're gonna be doing the call at the client side with the API use case. Data error. Loading. Let's see what it does. Const API URL equals that. I'm gonna call it from here. Then our data. Oh, maybe it has to be a component itself. Let's create a new component here. Um, hmm. So, I mean, that's a great exercise to make a component. How to make this go? Oh, I know what. Component, new file, like very simple. Copy. So remembering what we did before, actually I can literally just copy this. And I believe I have to export it. That's default function. But how do I? Okay, you have a function. Okay. Let's see how it works. We got our code here. We're gonna run this guy. Hello. Result success, provider documentation. Copy a sample of this result in Visual Studio Code, and then I'm gonna format it so I can see it better. So what I want to do is just get this for now. Last time rate updated was and then API sample. Actually, I believe I'm supposed to do the uppercase. Let's see. Yeah, uppercase. And then I'm going to add it somewhere here. Maybe here. We'll see what happens. Ah, failed to compile. Good. Let's remove this one. API sample not defined. That's because we haven't imported. That will make sense. API sample from component API sample. Can resolve SWR. Why not? Oh, I have to add that. Okay. That will make sense. SWR. I guess I do have to do this. And fetcher on that. So back here, go to my fetcher and use this guy. Now I can run the development server again. Let me run this guy again. Oh, it's running. Last time I did it. That. Oh, good. Good, 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 good. Well, how about... Can I do all this? Let's do something good here. And then do something like this. Just like we did a map over here, we're gonna do a map over the other side. We do data and then rates. That's not what I wanted. I don't care about the class name. Data dot rates. Map. And it is going to be, oh, it's a map. Huh. How to map over a map. That's interesting. Map over, so JS map over object properties. For in, okay. But I want to map the property and the name. How do I do that? Is it the same thing this guy did? Yep. All right, well, let's do that. Object entries. Rate name. Just gonna do one li. And we can call that as the key. And that. Let's see what happens. Did I save it? Yeah, I saved it. It's not updating. So let's do a refresh. Ah, well, that's not what I wanted. I want this. Equals data rates, rate name. Oh, adding both of them. Let's try this. Map B. There you go. Well, not really. That was the index. How do I do that? I thought that was the way to do it. How is it knowing? How does it know? Huh. I am iterating through it. It's not letting me do that. Let me just try this one then. An expression expected. How do I do a for loop in React? I kinda don't remember that. Hmm. For in loop in React. We can't do a map though, because we cannot map over how to use map. That's going to bother me a lot. Key value pair. Maybe we just have to deconstruct it in key value pairs. Key value pair v. There you go. Key value pairs. All right. Our last thing we're gonna do before we end is that I thought it was gonna be a TypeScript one here. I do not like the fact that we have TypeScript in here. So on NextJS. Yeah, supposed to have TypeScript support. We have to put that on. TypeScript as the flag. Okay. That makes sense, which I had known before. Let's see. So this one had a NextJS blog. Oh, that's the name of the thing. Use npm. Ah. Okay, we're gonna start a completely new one. Let's do that. We're gonna do this. Oh, never mind. To get started with existing project, create an empty tsconfig in the file root. So we're gonna go in the file root here and create a tsconfig here. Wait, what? No, I didn't. Then run next. Chapel is gonna see what? What? Oh, cd. What's the name? NextJS. I was in the wrong folder. Okay, well, I need to add that. So we're adding the TypeScript dependency. Oh, well, it's taking a while. And while it's doing that, it's done. And then we're gonna do np run dev. And in the meantime, let's see what they have to say. You're now ready to start converting files from JS to TSX and leveraging the benefits of TypeScript. Ah, and it changes. For get static props, paths, you can use the equivalent in JavaScript, in a TypeScript. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, well, let's transform them then. First thing we're gonna do is, let's see, all our pages, we can convert them to TypeScript. TSX. TSX and TSX. Same thing on components. TSX. TSX. Huh. Property home. Let me remove this guy right here. Hmm. No quick fixes for that. Let's see what that means. Input and init. Any errors here? Nope. Still getting that error there. Man. I don't know what that is. Maybe have to put something here. Type children never. Has no properties. In common with type intrinsic attributes. Maybe have to put children. Well, that was interesting. Oh, I think I know why. I'm not passing any. Okay, so that fixes for that page. In the first post, the home. False. I don't know. And they're also telling us to use the JavaScript to use this import. Get static props, and we want this whole thing. Let's see if it works. Just loading. And it loaded. It looks like it worked fine. Let's test something. Let's add here on my post. Let's do new. Just to make sure we are in the right. Yep, it's just new. So it is working. don't know why this is saying that. But before we finish, I think that should be a good idea to solve. Property home is missing in type children element. So we had to pass home. As to how we pass home, there must be some sort of guidance in here. Let's use that. We do have a custom app. So we're gonna do that with our app text. Component page props. Export default, my app. And this one is a function. Yep, this function. I'm sorry, app. Let's see if it works here. No, still saying that, and it's because I need to pass something. Props, maybe? I know why. Home equals false. Let's see what happens. Let's go to layout module and say that if it's home, not only have the profile one, it's not profile, but also say something to the fact that we are in the home page. Yes, in the profile. Nope. Let's go to here. This one says we're on the home page, but the other one doesn't. So it knows we're not. But still, you have to pass it. It's kind of annoying. We defined it, but not on the other one. Let's see. React, optional, prop, TypeScript. The question mark. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna do was it a default value here? No. Let's go back to layout. Let's define that. Hide layout props. Oops. Children. Home. So for index, we've got truth. Well, how do I assign it then? Ah, I think I know. True. Nope. Type string is not signable to Boolean. How do I assign the props then? Look at that. Style, then. There you go. True. And then for our first post, we leave it empty. And that should do it, I think. Back to home. Still there. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching us go through the tutorial for fetching data for NextJS and for using TypeScript with it. Thank you. Bye.